Welcome to the Healthy Metal Hippie Podcast, where art and wellness collide. Well, hi and welcome back to the Healthy Metal Hippie. Today, I am so excited to be here with Courtney Kocak. She's the author of the newly released book, Girl Gone Wild, and holy hell does she have a story to tell you. So thanks so much for being here today, Courtney.
I'm so excited to chat with you. Yeah, it is a story indeed.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I kind of just alluding to before we started talking, that early 2000s era, being a girl, it was a whole different kettle of fish. And oh my God. So you were born in Minnesota?
I grew up in small town Minnesota, yeah.
And then you made your way out west to Hollywood.
Yeah, I had big dreams. I wanted to be an actress, and that sort of guided all of my decision-making. Ambitious woman combined with, coming of age, combined with like an industry that is sort of innately predatory, created a lot of obstacles. It's not like I would go back and tell myself, don't do it, but there were a lot of lessons I learned along the way.
Yeah, I can imagine. How old were you when you went out?
I went out when I was 21 twice. So I went out for like a month, and then I went back to do this other movie, and then I went back out and got the job on the Girls Gone Wild tour. And then I was so fucked in the head after the Girls Gone Wild tour. I just was not expecting to see exploitation like that. I was not expecting to see coercion like that. And it really rattled me. I was in St. Louis, and then I went to Minneapolis for a while to kind of like recover. And then I went back out for real when I was 23.
Okay. Oh, so yeah, Girls Gone Wild. If you look at it now, it's kind of like unfathomable. Like that's something
totally
like that would even happen. But oh my God, you could buy them, like those videos and everything. You could get them everywhere.
You could not watch late night TV without seeing one of those infomercials.
And I don't even remember his name now. The guy who was doing
Joe Francis.
He got in big trouble recently, didn't he? Maybe not that recently, but finally all the shit caught up with him, right?
It was actually kind of, I think, a stupid reason that ultimately caught up with him. Everything from like tax evasion to like, child prostitution, I believe, because of some of the underage content. And then they did a documentary recently, and, there are allegations of abuse against his partner, who's his baby mama, and they're separated, and, you can hear her screams on the documentary. And so there's been that whole aspect of it too. So he's a really tragic figure. And the thing is, it's so interesting now with all the Epstein stuff coming out. And it's like, that's so pervasive in our culture. And I almost hate to like make him a figurehead of it because it's so far beyond him. But yes, he was a terrible figure.
Did you have any idea that it would have been so exploited and so?
Yeah, I was going off of the infomercials that I grew up with, and in the infomercials it's like a party, right? And the boobs are censored, and there's the lighthearted steel drum music, and it seems like
it's just a great time, right?
It's like a great time. It's spring break. And so when I saw the Craigslist ad for Mantra Entertainment, which I quickly realized was the company behind Girls Gone Wild, I was like, oh, this is like the answer to all my problems. Like, I need to make money. I can't afford to pay rent right now. This looks like a really fun time. I think it was kind of like made safe. It was like, whatever, like innocent washed or however we want to call it by people. It was so ubiquitous throughout our culture, like the Girls Gone Wild's joke. And so it was like even politicians like John Kerry were making jokes about Girls Gone Wild. And there was something kind of safe about the way that they talked about it. It was wild, but it wasn't frequently acknowledged that it was porn. And so, yeah, I did not know until obviously I got on the tour and I was like, oh, they make it in the back of the bus and the girls are drunk and they're signing contracts and all this stuff that I did not realize, like the logistics that went into it. And then I was like, shit. And I'm the same age as these girls. And there was all kinds of other toxic stuff, like guys on the crew were incentivized for the scenes that they got. So I'm the only girl on the bus and we go out to dinner and they're constantly rating girls. Like she's a 4, she's not good enough for the Girls Gone Wild. So, that was like a separate mind fuck of like, oh, is the whole world just about how hot you are? And it was so toxic.
First of all, I'm like, okay, I hope you carry no guilt or no shame around that, because how the fuck were you supposed to know? Like, it's so true based on the commercials until you either watched a tape or if you were there. How would you even know that it was like that? It just looked like you say, like a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Who wouldn't love to like go party with a bunch of cool girls and like get drunk and just be like, yeah, we're having fun.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome. Obviously wasn't. And not to mention, like, drunk, you can't enter into a contract. Underage, you can't enter into a contract. So, damn.
Yeah, but they did. They did have these drunk girls. And those contracts, as far as I know, did hold up in court, which is insane.
No, they shouldn't have.
I have been able to work through, writing the book was just a great process of liberation. And, it's like working through all those memories. I was like, this part of the shame was other people's expectations. This part of the shame was societal. What actually belongs to me. The whole book is not just, that's one of the experiences, but there are other ones too a lot of them were me learning what society thinks about women, and working through all of that has just made me feel light as a feather, and yeah, I'm happy to be now a scary feminist who's so empowered.
Yay.
It's impossible to take away.
Yay, we love the scary feminist. I was going to say, you are right. Like, especially, early 2000s, it was all about, are you pretty enough? Are you thin enough? You would still be thin and you'd still be too fat. And it was constant criticism for celebrities, but even non-celebrities, just like, all of these things that's wrong with you. There's everything wrong with you. There's nothing right with you. And I think people like our age, especially, kind of carry that with you, where you still go, I shouldn't be here. I'm not good looking enough, or whatever the fuck it is. But we're all starting to wake up and go, oh my God, it wasn't real.
Yeah, it becomes part of your self-talk, right? Like that you have to really unwind. And yeah, some of this stuff is crazy. Like, it's crazy. They used to guess celebrities' weights in the tabloids. Do you remember that?
Yes.
That was psychotic.
Yes. And there's that, oh my gosh, who was it? That was on like Howard Stern, and they're like, just get on the scale and we're going to weigh you. And I'm just like, how? Well, I'm trying to remember who that was now, but I'm sure it happened to more than one person.
Yeah, I'm sure it was more than one.
And there's a lot still where there's extreme double standards for women versus what there is for men, right? Nobody really cares, if this guy over here is a little chubby, if he put on a little weight, if he went out and got drunk, if he abused somebody. Nobody cares. But
it's not even really topic of conversation when it comes to men. And then, when somebody does get called out, there's so much backlash and like, why are you canceling all these men? And, I don't think we should live in a punitive culture. So like, I don't want people to suffer indefinitely from being canceled, but it is crazy how quickly the backlash mounts. Have we solved everything? Absolutely not. But like, you can be a fat woman. You can be Meg Stalter, or you can be Lena Dunham, or you can be whoever, an Instagram model who is big and be wildly successful, which I don't think I had any model for that growing up. It was like the big girls were like a size 12 or something, which is ridiculous.
I don't even know how we put up with it. I love like Paris Hilton, for example. I don't know if you've read her book too, but it was unreal. But I'm so happy that people are finally going, oh, actually, Paris is amazing. And it's like, yes, Paris is amazing. And like everybody's amazing. I was driving back from the airport tonight thinking about Paris Hilton and all this stuff. I think one of her songs came on in my car, but I'm thinking about just how everybody was awful to her. So I saw something else online today and I was like, they just went off and on about, yes, just back to calling women whores and all this stuff. And I'm like, can we just get over it?
I did not mean to be a bummer, but yeah, it's so sad how much it was a problem and still is. It's crazy.
That's like one thing that I really notice where women just like band together happily now, where it used to be like Mean Girls, right? Where it was women really not loving each other. But I think now women they just stand together and
realize that there's power in that.
Yeah. You said you went back out to LA when you were 23 then. How did things go from there?
I had a lot more support the second time in that I, knew I was going to live with my best friend and we got a great place. And I knew I had a better idea of what it took to get started, because I think there's all these misconceptions in media about how the entertainment industry actually works, and it's not accurate. So having gone out there a couple times, I knew a little bit more about what it was actually going to take. And so I could prepare for that a little bit better. And I had this gig, I could transfer my job going into it. So all of those things made it an easier landing the second time. And then I could really get started. In the first year, I got my SAG card, which is the Screen Actors Guild. So I did background to earn that. And I found a lot of promotional modeling jobs. And I still became disillusioned with acting eventually after a few years. I just realized I hate auditioning so much. And I hate being kind of the last person on a production. We think of actors as like the face of whatever the project is, but usually they're the last person coming on. It's like the writer writes it and the director prepares for the production. And, then the actor's the person just hoping that they get that job. And I hated that dynamic. And so I started writing when I was 27, just as a way to create opportunities for myself. I had done some independent films out of school and I was doing a lot of theater, but I was really frustrated. And so I started screenwriting and doing sketches and all of that kind of stuff. And I was having a blast. And then I went through this brutal breakup, which I was trying to process. And I wrote an essay about that relationship. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is the thing that I want to do. Like that feels amazing. And so at 27, I really kind of pivoted to writing, and it was really hard. I'd chased this dream for so long and I'd made such a big deal about it, and I went to college for it, and it was just, the singular goal of my life. Yeah. And so making the pivot was really hard, just to admit to myself and to other people that I wanted something different. But it was a really good change for me to make. And I had gone through all those experiences in my early 20s, right? I was on the Girls Gone Wild tour. I had some sexual assault that happened. I was in an abusive relationship that ended in an abortion. And I had gone through all these experiences that made me not want to pretend to be other people anymore. Like I kind of wanted to unpack what had actually happened to me. And so writing became this amazing outlet to start to do that. And that's what I've been doing for the last 15 years.
I really love that. I know I talk a lot about writing too, that it's always been like the only way I can really get things out there.
Yeah.
And, in whatever way it may be, whether it's simple stuff like journaling or like writing poetry or, whatever it is. It's like, it is so healing. And it is hard to actually let those crazy experiences out and be free out there in the world.
It's hard in a good way, and it's so rewarding, I think. And the journaling, that's so funny that you say that. I thought, I started journaling because, I was like, I'm a writer now, and all these writers that I admire have these amazing journaling practices. And so I'm going to start to keep a journal. And I was going through it when I started. And so it really allowed me to just have a place to put all my emotions. I would say it's as good or better than therapy in a lot of ways, because you realize when you're lying to yourself, you can kind of just dump on the page. So that was so helpful in working through. I still keep a journal, but it's just, I write like this much every day, not very much. During that stage, I was writing pages. And so it really just gave me this amazing outlet. And I don't think I would be the person I am today if I didn't spend those like 5 years just hardcore journaling through everything. It's so funny because I thought that was going to be material that turned into my book, and it's absolutely not. But it allowed me to grow into the kind of person who could write the book.
I think it lets you take a lot of your power back, and it lets you rebuild your strength in so many ways. I've been also through domestic violence. I've been through sexual abuse and all sorts of really fun things too. But it's sad when you can look back. Well, for me, I looked back at some writing I did, and I can spot it in the style of writing. This is lies, this is lies, this is lies. And you write to try and make yourself believe. And then suddenly it all starts to like crack through, and then it's floodgate of truth comes through. But God, it feels good, even if those things are still hard to say to other people, to like express those experiences. The fact that you can just have that safe space to put them, so you've emptied your brain from them, at least, it's like life-changing.
It really is. Yeah.
Writing always seems to be the one thing that really helps you, organize all of your thoughts and experiences and work through the shame that you might carry with it. It's
it's huge for that. I write about this amazing therapist. I've had other therapists who were moderately effective, but I started going to Dr. Donna, who I met her because I was a writer's assistant on a show based on her life. Because she was a performance psychologist for this football team, and she was just like this incredible bad bitch with this, she looked like a mob wife. She was like, had this amazing big blonde hair and this big personality. Towards the end of this era of me journaling a lot, my grandma passed away, and I started going to see Dr. Donna, and I was also had relationship issues, and I was floundering in my career, and I was like, what is going to be next for me? I found this little conch shell that she had given me at the end of that show, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to look up Dr. Donna and see what's going on. And I wound up going to therapy with her for about 6 months. I can't remember exactly how long. She was like the second part of that life changing. It was like I did all that journaling work, and then I started working with her. We did a little bit of hypnotherapy, and she also just spoke my language. Like, she was into manifestation, and she was, talked about being an alpha female, and she had worked in the entertainment industry. And so she was like such a linchpin in finding myself. And I really do owe so much to her as well. But I feel like the combination of the journaling and Dr. Donna, it's like, I have so much gratitude for the influence that they had on my life.
It's amazing when you like go through these really tough periods, and then just suddenly everything clicks, and then you draw this line, and you're like, no more of this shit anymore. We only do this now. And it's so good.
I totally agree. And I don't think it's an accident that I met my husband like right around that time. Obviously we dated for a long time before we got married, but I'd been through all these relationships that weren't it. And there were, some off-kilter dynamics and all of that. And then I think when I finally was like ready for it and came into my own, like that's when someone great came into my life. And I just do not think that's an accident.
It's not. It is not. I guess my fiance, we've only been together for, I guess, when we get married, it'll be a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so we've gone quick. But it's definitely one of those things, like, kind of when we met, it was like, oh, I'm going to marry you.
Yeah.
I'm going to marry you. And that's that. Because you know, when somebody like slots right perfectly in with you and you're like, actually, everything being with you, I'm just getting better and better and you're getting better and better. And life is just like amazing. Why wait?
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to really get this like solidified self before you're ready to just jump for it, right?
Totally. Yeah.
How long have you been married now?
We got married almost exactly 2 years ago. We got married on April 27th, 2024. We started dating in 2016. He was talking about getting married a few, months in. And then we moved in about 6 months after we started dating. And I think it was pretty clear that we were
this is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes me so happy. Sometimes our life takes us in really mysterious, weird ways. And you look back and go, I'm so thankful for everything that I have been through, as difficult as it was, because it's led me to this. And this is pretty darn good.
Yeah, this is fantastic. For sure.
I think when you are firm in your boundaries and knowing yourself, it does make it easier to attract the right people and the right opportunities into your life as well. And it is truly like, oh, it's your aha moment.
In Girl Gone Wild, I write about like this ticket I got from the self-esteem police. I was begging this man to be my boyfriend. We had been dating and I thought he was so great. And I had been through these previous relationships where I had a really hard time letting go. And for some reason, I was having the same issue with him. And that's a long story about how we got to this point. But I was on the phone, like, why is it not working out? And like, why can't we be together? And blah, blah, blah. And I get pulled over and I get a ticket for talking on my phone while driving. And he was still on the phone while the cop was giving me the ticket. And it was like so pathetic. It was so pathetic. I couldn't even believe that it was happening. After I got that ticket, I was like, oh, this is like a sign from the universe that you need to knock that shit off immediately. You need to not obsess about people like this, not get caught up in why something isn't working out. Like if it's not working out, you can move on. And that's how you should live your life. And it's so crazy because that night I went out with my now husband, but I was like, I'm just going to be single for a while. I'm going to date around. I'm not going to date anyone until it's like the right fit. And like, I'm not going to do this shit ever again. And I made that pact with myself. We went out literally that night because we had matched on Tinder and I was like, drink soon. And I didn't want to lock it down with him because I was like, there's no way I meet my guy that night. Like, that's crazy. And so we sort of dated around for a little bit, but he was instantly like very into me. It's just so funny. Yeah. Like 6 weeks later, I was like, okay, yeah, we can be boyfriend, girlfriend. But I do think the universe is listening. And when you do finally put up your boundaries, sometimes you get what you want immediately.
Yep, that's for sure. Well, I guess, yeah, my lovey's going to probably be editing this after, but it's okay. He knows this. I don't know if we're going to keep this part in. I was actually dating somebody and I had been planning to break up with him and really like, do I do it for like about a year? And when I met Nick in that day, I knew I cannot stay in this relationship I'm in.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was immediately me going, nope, I definitely need a lot better. And then I found a lot better. And it's like, I know I'm the villain in some people's books, but for once I'm like, no, we do things for ourselves. And it's so important. And like, yeah. And you can't force anything. You can't force people to love you. You can't force them to want to be with you. Mm-hmm. You're so right. If things are not for you, then they will move on by and you're going to find the real thing that's really good for you.
And it's best to not even try to force it because it's just such a losing battle. And like, you just can't. So like the best thing for everyone involved is just to let it go.
And it's so, oh my God, it's so true. And I mean, and that's not even just relationships, right? It's like jobs or,
Totally.
Friendships. It's all sorts of things. Whatever it is, there's like, if it's keeping you down or you're not able to totally be yourself there, or it's a one-sided friendship or something. No, just leave it behind.
Yeah.
Better things on the horizon, but you have to trust it.
Yes, totally.
Do you still have involvement with like TV or film?
I podcast and I wrote this book and I still do a lot of freelance stuff. I am trying to sell a show related to the book. I'm always kind of working on a few TV or film projects, like just in case, it's such a hard industry. But yeah, I kind of always have something on the back burner and I'm pursuing it. But I mean, it's kind of the same thing as with acting, right? There's so much that's outside of your control in terms of like writers' rooms and producers and all of that stuff. And so like with books, I can kind of control my own destiny. With a podcast, same thing. And so though I try to make those things kind of my centerpiece, so I don't get too caught up in other people's timelines. And, it's like, it's great if something like that goes, but I'm really happy that my life is not built around it.
Oh, absolutely. That's the ideal. You build things for yourself.
And luckily we're in this new kind of media ecosystem where you don't have to be a columnist for a major paper, or you don't have to be writing on a certain show, or, like you can definitely carve out your own little ecosystem and niche. And that's amazing. I'm so glad. I'm lucky to be alive during this period.
Yeah. And I think it's cool because you get that direct ability to find your own people and build it exactly how you want. It's like you say, nobody's telling you the rules of you can or can't do this. You're like, actually, it's mine. I can do it.
Yes, totally.
Oh, it feels very good. I mean, I do like social media work and tour booking, artist management, that kind of stuff for people. And I probably do some things very untraditionally, but I love it because that's like, you find the way that works for you and works for the people that you're working with. And what else could you ask for, really?
Yeah. I would so struggle to have just a regular job at this point.
It's, so I had a really long and lovely career in insurance. And after I left my husband, 6 months later, I lost my job and I went, so we're not going to be doing that anymore. And I just decided, like, when I came to England, I truly wanted to rewrite my own history anyway, for my own story. And this was like the perfect time. My whole life burnt down. So why not just build a new one, right?
Yeah, I love that. That's great.
You have to. Do you want to tell us a bit about your podcast too?
Yeah. So I'm sort of addicted to podcasting. I started in 2013 just as like a vehicle for comedy. It was kind of soon after I'd started writing. And so I was writing with a partner at the time and we created this comedy podcast. It was called Voicemails to Self. And we played like caricatures of ourselves. And each episode was like a day's worth of voice messages. And we had comedians voice different characters in our lives. It was so fun. But that was like my entry into podcasting. And then in 2016, I started this show called Reality Bites. This was during, right before I met my husband. I was a frustrated dater. My best friend at the time was also a frustrated dater. And so we were like, let's podcast about this. It was great. I was instantly like so into the medium. And that podcast, Reality Bites, has now been through a bunch of evolutions, but it started in 2016. And so I'm on my 10th year of that show. It's now called Private Parts Unknown. I've done a series where there were travel kind of series. And so went to Helsinki, went to Mexico City, went to Tokyo and kind of reported on love and sexuality there. And then I do other interviews about all kinds of, the same topics that I'm dealing with in the book. Some of them are in the podcast. Like I can talk to people about reproductive rights. I can talk to people about different relationship dynamics. So it's been a really great outlet for me to like work through exactly like what my philosophy on some of that stuff is and just platform people that I really like and admire. And then I also, in the process of writing this book, I started another podcast called The Bleeders.
Bleeders.
Yeah, it's about book writing and publishing. And so that was a great way for me to talk to authors and people in the publishing industry as I was figuring out like how I wanted to do my journey. And so I had a great time with that. And then I also have one about podcasting called Podcast Bestie. And so those educational podcasts are another great way for me to kind of learn from other people and bring my audience along on their nerdy passions. And I get to have pick your brain conversations without the grossness of, just wanting to pick someone's brain.
Yeah, you're like, but it's mutually beneficial.
Yes, exactly.
No, I really love that. And I mean, everybody loves a good how-to when they're looking at, how to do things. Well, shocker. But it's like, that's so cool. And now I'm like, now I need to go listen to all of your podcasts because I love that too. I also love that you're having big talks about sexuality and relationships and all these things because more people need to talk about it.
Yeah.
There's so many different things out there that people don't even consider. And we've all kind of been made to put in a little box, but relationships don't work that way. They don't live in boxes.
I also just think, we don't always have like the big important cultural conversations. Like, I mean, it's so apparent around something like Me Too. It's like, how were men supposed to react to that if there's not like a unwinding of negative behavior? It's not like a preachy podcast in any way, but I do like to have conversations that sort of like offer ways to think about stuff like that.
I'm happy that you're doing it.
Thank you.
No, it sounds like you just have so many incredible things going on. And it feels nice when you come out of like difficult times like you've been through and you've come through them strong, you come through them resilient, and you come through it knowing yourself better and being able to give something like wonderful back to the world in the process, I'm sure that there are so many women that just find you a light of hope and it's probably given them back their future in a lot of ways.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, I think I do make a lot of things for my younger self. And like, it feels good to like pour into that former version of myself and like be able to kind of integrate the two and offer resources. And it's a good guiding light.
I think we all look back and pat ourselves, our 14-year-old self or whatever age on the head and go like, look, it's all going to be okay. And, I keep seeing a lot of us are reverting back to our like teenage self. And I'm like, that probably makes sense too, where, even you think you fell into those like standards. And then now that as you get older, you're like rediscovering that who you actually were to start with. And you're like, I like this version. Yeah. This is a good version to be.
Also, you make mistakes and sometimes you want to distance yourself from the version that you were when you made that mistake. And I feel like that kind of feeds into the shame and all of that stuff. And so if you can accept that person who made the mistake and like, understand that they were trying their best and just, have acceptance, I think it feels a lot better.
And the other thing that I keep thinking about too is, especially when it comes to like sexual abuse and all that stuff, my big reminder that I took away from therapy is that shame and that guilt is not yours.
Yeah.
It's the person who did it to you.
Yes, totally.
And that's, or you talk about, well, for me, failed marriage or how was I so dumb to get in a situation like this? Well, it's not me.
Yeah.
All kinds of people get into these situations, whether they're like incredible, thriving boss babe CEO women, or they're not. It doesn't matter. It can happen to anybody.
Totally.
It's not ours to carry.
And just unpacking like what part of you did have an insecurity that fed into the situation or whatever, but going back and patching that up and kind of healing that just makes you more stronger moving forward.
There's a difference between being like aware of the things that may have led you to make such decisions and, and beating yourself up over it, right? You're allowed to sit there and go, you know what? I can see why I wound up here and it's not my fault that I did, or, these circumstances would have led me there. Whatever it is, it's like we said before, it has to just be let go, right?
Yes.
Let it go. It does help you help other people. It does help you change perspective. And I said to you, having those conversations like you're having on your podcast, that you're having in your book, that you're sharing with your audience, they are massive because they help people grow and they help people change. And you're definitely part of that.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Accurate. So if you had any advice for, there's so many people that you could give advice to. Let's say if you could tell your younger self one thing, what would you tell your younger self?
I would say slow down. I was in such a rush when I was younger. I was, I wanted to be an actress as fast as possible. I wanted to get out to LA as fast as possible. I wanted to get through school as fast as possible. Like I was always just trying to get there fast. And even when I first made the pivot to writing, I was so frustrated about I'd already put in all these hours as an actor and I'm going to have to start over and put in all these hours again as a writer. And I think what I've learned is there are no shortcuts, or at least the shortcuts aren't going to help you. Like what really gets you to where you want to go the fastest is slowing down, working on yourself, getting good at the thing that you want to be good at, which takes a long time. Yeah. So I write about this in my book, but slow is fast. Anytime that you're trying to rush through something, really, if you slow it down and you take your time with it, I truly believe that that's how you're going to succeed the fastest. Yeah, it applies to so many areas of my life. And I'm so glad I'm not all fixed now, but I have learned that lesson and I can always remind myself of that. And I think it's such a valuable one.
It absolutely is. I don't think we're ever fixed,
no.
But I do think that we just keep getting better with the tools that we have and the learning that we do.
Totally.
So if people want to come check you out, where's the best place to find you and where can we buy your book?
Well, I think you can buy my book even across the pond. I think you can get it on Amazon. In the States, you can also get it on bookshop.org or Barnes & Noble, or you can request it from your local bookstore or ask your library. Lots of places to get Girl Gone Wild. I'm all over the internet. You can find me on social media at Courtney Kocak. My last name is Kocak. My website is CourtneyKocak.com. I also have a bunch of Substacks. I have one for the Bleeders, one for Private Parts Unknown. You can find me on the podcast apps. I'm all over.
I love that. Thank you so much for being here today, Courtney. I have absolutely loved talking to you, and I'm ready to get stuck into that book now.
Thank you so much. I had a blast.
Thanks so much for joining us on the Healthy Metal Hippie podcast. For more ways to connect, go to www.healthymetalhippie.com.